Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad, and today we're going to go over State Street, their distributions. Somebody already asked me, what ETF? So that must mean you've been living under a rock for the last month. And we're just going to go ahead and take a look at this. They came out with a whole bunch of new ETFs, and we're just going to take a look at these and tell you what the calculated distribution rate was for each one of these. Not financial advice or any other advice. This is just Brad out on the internet telling you at least what the basic math is telling you. That's all we're going to do. We're going to just go over the basic math, tell you what is out there, and let you make your decisions about your finances. So let's go ahead and take a look at these. So who is State Street? Well, they have $5.1 trillion under assets under management. And I'm going to just go ahead and put this one up there. I'm going to say good evening since you're the first one that shows up tonight. So State Street has $5.1 trillion. They've been in business for 47 years. I think that makes them one of the bigger players. And if you didn't know, they are the ones that bring us this little ETF called SPY. You may or may not have heard of it. Maybe you have. Maybe you haven't. I don't know. Like I said, you might be living under that rock. But anyway, these new funds have a expense ratio of 0.35. And I'm just going to go ahead and stop you from typing right now because they did not give me any tax information on their distributions, so there is no way for me to tell you how much ROC there is. But we'll talk about that later. And somebody brings up this one. Hey, you think XLKI, I do believe that's correct, is the highest rate or giving the highest distribution rate, but it wasn't. How about that number? You're going to be surprised at which one has the highest distribution rate, because I was like, really? I was a little shocked myself when I saw the distributions. So anyway, they have a 0.35, which is good because now you have competition out there bringing you funds at a very low expense ratio. So it might help us drive down expense ratios of other funds that we already own. Never know. And you never know who might come on the channel. That's another one. A little secret surprise that maybe somebody's coming on the channel tomorrow. New person. But let's go ahead and talk about the distribution rates. So they have this communication fund, and that came in at 12.7. Looking at 27% distribution. Customer staples, hey, that came in at 14%. And I took Friday's close price and divided it. Okay, distribution rate or distribution times 12 divided by Friday's close. That's how I came up with the percentage, just to let you know. So financial, not really big financial sector guy, but hey, that came in at 14.9. Materials, 17.6. Healthcare, 17.7. Industrials, 18.5. Consumer discretionary, 20.6. Real estate, and this is the one that I am personally interested in, these last three. So we have the real estate sector that came in at 22.45. That's a pretty nice distribution for REITs or real estate. And we're just going to talk about the technology, XLKI. It came in at 23%. But the surprise, everyone, energy sector came in at number one at 27.94. Just looking at the distribution, times it by 12, and dividing it by Friday's close. That's all I did. Now, I personally looked at these when they first came out, and my thoughts is that I am just going to go ahead and, I don't know, somebody, ZX, I don't know. Hey, Street Dividends, stop. You're probably right. I don't know. I'm going to have to go look at that one. Maybe it is X. I don't know. We'll look at that one. I think it is X. Everything else is X. So sweet dividends. He caught that one again. Says, thank you. I don't know. Good question. I could have sworn I typed them in. I think I copied and pasted them in. Wait a second. Did I not copy and paste them in? No, they're all X's. So no, I guess I did not copy and paste them in. Always got me being there. Yeah, you'll be quiet. No, you won't. You're going to pay that $1.99 because you're going to find another spelling mistake and say, can I have an I? Anyway, very good, sweet dividends. Love you. If you don't know, Sweet Dividends is part of the group, my members, and he is in there, and he makes some good posts here and there. He's pretty good. I like him. He makes some funnies. So, hey, I looked at the technology, XLK, and I went out and looked at a tool that tells me, hey, how many of the same stocks are in QQQ? XLK had 68, according to them, and there is 50% overlay. And this is another one. Well, where's the utility fund? Well, maybe I copied it over. Maybe I didn't copy it over. Yeah. Oh, maybe I didn't. I guess maybe I missed it. Maybe I'll look at that one later. Didn't see it on the list. A little slow. Anyway, remember, first day back from vacation. Anyway, 50% is in the same as QQQ. And I'm like, okay, very happy with that one. You can see which ones are overweighted and underweighted. So they have a little more Microsoft and NVIDIA, and they have a little less of Amazon and Facebook and Netflix, a little underweighted. But that is how they are doing business. And that's okay with me. All right. The next one I bring up is we're going to look at the REITs because I own IYRI from Neos. Here you have XLRE, and they are on REITs, and it's an 80% overlapping. And I think that's okay. And I look at that and say, which one has a higher weighting in some of these? And they're not that far off. A couple percentage points on like American Tower and Well Tower, some names that you might know. And Realty Income, it's really close, 4.9 compared to 4%. And I'm like, okay, here I have an alternative fund because I like to have more than just one fishing rod out there. Start to throw it out. I like to have two different funds in the same because which one's going to outperform which week? Don't know. Really don't know. I can tell you that they do it different than Neos. They are writing monthly calls, paying monthly. They're also doing what they call monthlies, which is on the third Friday of every month. They did expire. When I looked at it, they're writing anywhere between 80% and about 95%, depending on the fund. And that's where we get into, will they have NAV erosion? Will they not have NAV erosion? That's where I kind of said the other day that maybe we need to marry them up to some of the other funds. Now this guy really has me upset because I am really going to go look and find that utility one. I'll have that done and I'll have it posted for the members later tonight because I know I must have missed it. Anyway, when I looked at how they're rated or weighted, I said, okay, I'm okay with both of them. IYRI, and I'm okay with XLRE. So they're gone. Maybe I need to have both of them. But then I sat there and said, okay, which one has done better over time? So I went and just used the tool and I came up with, hey, XLRE has done better than IYR, at least on the max of the chart. What's that, 2016, 15 to today? So, right around that 10-year period, they've done slightly better than IYR. So, hey, there you have it on that particular fund. Which one has done better? I also looked at XLK against the Qs. And I took this on a 10-year chart. And I sat there and go, okay, on a 10-year chart, they appear to have done better than the Qs. And that's why I am slightly interested in holding something like this. But then again, they're writing just about that 2% out of the money. Will they get capped? Will they not get capped? That is the question. Writing on that 80 to 95% range. So that's a lot to be writing on. But then I started looking at the funds and I said XLK against XLKI. And I go, that's interesting. XLKI did better on total returns. And this again was on Friday. And I'm sitting there going, that's before the first distribution. And I'm sitting there going, they also did, and this is something to think about, XLK was down a little bit during the month. So I'm sitting there going, they wrote about 2.5% out of the money, and they finished out of the money. So they're actually going to do better than the underlying asset. I next did XLE. And I said, all right, which one's doing better? And I noticed that XLEI got capped. And that's where you get into which one's going to do better over a period of time. We all know that cover calls cap us on the upside. It just depends on the market and how the market plays out. That's why I say you should probably marry some of this with the underlying just to keep yourself from getting into trouble. And it's way too early to know. Way too early to know if we're going to have any real true NAV erosion. Just don't know. Then I looked at the REITs and I go XLRE versus XLRI. And again, see that they got capped. But it's not that bad. It's about 1%. And I also know that NEOS went through their strike. So I want to sit there going, they're not the only one that's actually been able to do this and go through the strikes. And that's another one. Here's one. Hopefully they're able to sustain their rates. And that is a good question. Way too early to know if those rates will stay the same. But if I look at that, I can say, hey, if I marry these to the underlying, I'm still at a 75% income, 25% uncapped. I'm still at a 20% distribution rate for the energy sector. I'm at 17.3 for the technology sector, and I'm at 16.8 for the REITs. And I sit there going, that is better than IYRI with my 11%. And remember, I'm living on 8 and reinvesting the rest into something. So that gives me 3%. Here, that would give me 50% of that distribution, even holding 25% uncapped, could get reinvested back into something. And that is the question. One, and this is something that came up the last time I brought this up. M1 can do this for you automatically. They have these, what they call baskets or pies, and it divides it out for you. But I also find out that Fidelity can do this for you, but they do charge, and you do lose a couple functions when you do this. And I'm just waiting to see how that plays out. And maybe I'm just going to become lazy and just marry some of these up and call it good. Because, hey, if I have something in these distribution rates, and it's, again, we don't know if they're going to be able to sustain them, but this is the first distribution, and I'm looking at that going, that is still not a bad distribution rate. I also went and said, hey, if you did 50-50, and I don't think you need to go that far to do 50-50, but still, I'm at 13.97 for energy. I'm at 11.5 for technology, and that is really close to GPIQ on their distribution rate. You're just doing about the same thing, marrying it up 50-50, and you're doing the real estate at 11.23, which is exactly right about where NEOS does their distribution rates. So that really comes into question where they're at. Now, looking at this chart, and I'm just going to go ahead and point this out to you. If I'm going to look at the real estate one, 25.21. That is the closing price on Friday. That is something that I saw. And then I saw a 47-cent distribution, which just means that the NAV is naturally going to go down. Will it recover? And that's always the question. Don't know. And that's why I said maybe you need to marry these. And yes, that distribution rate at being at 0.35 really makes these something to keep in mind and at least track. I know personally I will be tracking these. I'm not going to be buying anything. I'm just going to be tracking these for now, but I'm interested in the bottom three. Really am. XLRI, XLKI, and XLEI. And I'll figure out the utility one before long, and I'll figure that out. I must have missed it. I know it was probably out on their website. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. We'll figure it out. But I'm going to stay around for a few minutes just in case somebody wants to ask a question in the comments, and I'll go ahead and answer it. Just that's all I had to present. I've been on vacation for the last week, just getting back into the swing of things. My daughter was in town, so I just went ahead and said, that's enough. I'm going to go spend time at the beach with my daughter and my wife and, of course, her boyfriend. But we dropped them off at the airport. So now I'm back, and I'll be doing videos every day or every other day. But if it's nice outside, I'm going to go to the beach. And it has been very nice outside. We'll just throw that out. It was in the mid-70s all weekend. And somebody goes, just got back from New Jersey. Well, guess what, John? You're very not. I know that you know where I'm at, and you're not very far away from me. And you know you had good weather up in New Jersey. So anyway, if there's no other comments, I am going to say good night, and I will bring up that utility one and put it into the members pages later tonight. So until next time, God bless.